Ready?
Yeah,
We good?
we're rolling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, we need to get more bodies in the room. Welcome to meeting number 316 of TMG Dayton, the Apple user group. And I'm looking, I don't see any guests today. Do we have any new members that have joined up recently? I'm looking at the treasurer and our membership chair. No? Okay. I'm going to put an obligation upon all of the members, both present and here via astral projection. We need to get some more membership going. So this morning, being one to practice what I preach, the people who are in here to set up the flowers for the church, I asked them about Bible study, and they said they would send me a link, and of course they pulled out their iPhones. And of course they immediately went, I'm not sure how to do this. And I said, oh, well, you know, the Mac Group, the Apple user group, we do iPhone stuff too. The husband didn't bite. The wife went, oh, education is important. And I said, are you a teacher? She says, retired. And I said, well, then you know how important it is to be educated, because then you feel like you're in control of your life. So we'll see what happens. But it would be a good thing if all of you talk to your friends or enemies and just let them know that if they need technical support with Apple products, if they want to learn more about them, how to use them in that, be more in control, that we are available. Okay, so we're going to say the welcome is done. We're going to move on to news items. Does anyone here in the room have a news item they want to share? Going once, going twice. You'll notice we don't have Rick Cartwright here in person today. He's somewhere out in Utah, but he is zooming in.
He was.
So I will, no?
Not anymore.
He's taking photos. He's taking photos. I know him. He's taking photos. Probably with his watch, if I know him. No normal mortal could take pictures with their watch, but he probably can. All right, so anyway, I'll tell you that Apple has their worldwide developer conference going on right now. And it's club policy not to talk about software or operating systems until they're actually released. But they announced the next version of Mac OS, new versions of CarPlay, new versions of iPhone OS, new versions of Watch OS, you got the idea. What I call the Apple sauces, the Apple operating systems. They announced all sorts of new ones there, and they're available for people to try in a beta form. The other thing that they did was they announced 2 new notebooks that have a new chip called the M2, Apple Silicon M2. They're not available yet. They're going to be available starting next month. And so I don't like to tell people what they should do. I prefer to just tell people what I'm doing, and if they want to follow me over the cliff, it's on them. But right now we're in a position in our household where we have some older equipment that will be replaced this year, but we're waiting until fall, until the September-October range. That's when they'll release the new operating system, Mac OS Ventura. They didn't want to use Mac OS 13, so it's Mac OS Ventura. And if past is prologue, they'll also announce some new machines then. I'm thinking maybe an M2 iMac, but you know. So basically, wait until fall. Plus the prices are a little bit better. They have the back to school sales and all that. All right, anybody else, any other items? Going once, going twice? No, we're good. Okay. Next thing would be HomeKit Minute. So Dan Wyckoff is going to show us some stuff.
All right, well,
You want me to switch that or you want to?
no, I got it.
Okay.
Gotta wake it up here.
And you got to go down. Yep, do it again.
So, contrary to what Bill just said, here's a sneak peek at the, this is a developer beta for HomeKit. This is on an iPad. Some of the changes that you might see, there's a bar on the left side. You won't see that on the phone, but you'll see it on the iPad, that you could just directly go to different categories and different rooms immediately, rather than having to, if you use HomeKit now, you got to scroll down or hit another button. And then you can actually change the order on which they appear in the main menu. You can just drag your cameras up to the top, and then they've got these different new shortcuts across the top. So just a little sneak peek. But I bring to you a new device that my problem is that I have a light in my living room that is set to go on and off based upon the sunrise. So it turns on at 5 a.m. and turns off 20 minutes after the sun comes up. Well, sometimes, especially in the summertime, even after when it goes off, it's still dark in the room. So rather than having to constantly adjust that delay for after the sunrise and sunset, I bought this little device. It's looks like a golf ball, but it actually has 3 different types of sensors in it. It's by a company, if I can wake this back up again. The company is called Fabaro, and it's battery powered. So as you can see, you can move it around anywhere you want, and it has a built-in light sensor, and it has a built-in temperature sensor and a motion detection. So the great thing is now I can just set this in my living room, and I found out that it doesn't measure light where it's pointed. So it's just like if you've done any photography, it's just like a typical light meter, and it senses light that falls on the device itself. So I had to position this at a point where the light from my light in the living room would be falling onto the device and giving an accurate level of light. And so it's set for during certain times of the day. I can have it automatically turn the light on if the light level is still below a certain lux or luminous value. So very, very handy, but it also is great because it has a motion sensor on it, so you could have it trigger a light as people walk into the room, or trigger a text. That, you know, if you have it in your home and you know somebody's not supposed to be home, but it senses somebody, it could text you at work or on your phone, and then you could look on a camera or something to that effect. But it's very handy, and it's comes with this little cradle that you can just pop it into, and the cradle can mount, but it's also got a flat spot on it, so you can set it on a desktop or anything. But very handy, wireless, has a built-in battery, as you can see, that's supposedly will last about 5 years. So it's not something that's going to suck battery life. Yes, Bill?
What does it cost?
Yeah, good question. $49. So, but it's multiple sensors, and it has served me well. I've got it functioning, not currently, but it's when I put it back into my house, it will function back. So any other questions?
What was the name of it again?
It's the company name is Fabaro, and they just call it their motion sensor, but it has a light sensor and temperature sensor. So you could also control your thermostat, put it in a remote room that is constantly too hot or too cold, and have it change your, set up a script that would change your thermostat if you have a Wi-Fi connected thermostat. So Fabaro, it's Fibaro.
Can you make it control 2 devices or more? Or
You can have it trigger any script.
okay.
You can write a script in HomeKit that says if this happens with a device, then do this. And so you could have it do whatever, as long as it's based upon light levels, temperature, or motion.
Okay.
Any program from any device?
It would have to be any HomeKit. You can use shortcuts and create a script to program it. And if you got a question about programming, I can answer that for you at the intermission.
So I bet their next development is going to be shock resistant, so you build that into a golf ball, so you get a GPS location.
It's on Amazon.
If you hit
Yes.
these hard enough, you can have a drink.
All right. Great. Thanks.
That is cool. $46 on Amazon.
I think with shipping it was $49.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Do you know which Wi-Fi it uses? Is it Wi-Fi 6?
No, I do not.
Okay.
It's automatically set up to use a 2G.
Can I auction off your
2.4.
phone?
Can I what?
Can I auction off your phone?
No. No. I'm just leaving it there because I don't want to have lots of.
Okay. Now, you may not know what HomeKit is, you may not care what HomeKit is, but I just want to remind everyone in the group that this is also part of your senior enrichment, okay? In that I want you to be exposed to other things that are out there than just the standard, the email, the web browsing, et cetera, et cetera. All righty, and thank you, Dan. By the way, since Dan is just a volunteer, he's not an officer of the club, policies and practices of the club do not apply to Dan except for those of common courtesy. Okay, so he's a white man, what can I say?
So we can ask him for money.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you can ask anyone for money, but I would remind you that the members have been told when they first joined the group to say no. All right, with that said, let's see, freebies, wanted, and for sale. First, I'm going to say that first, I have put some 8 by 11 letter-sized pads over there. They're freebies. They've got old club stationery, basically. They've got a beautiful LC3 on the front. There's a 513 area code number on them, and an address in Oakwood that we no longer use. So if anybody wants some free scratch paper, boom, go for it. And with that said, I will go to, all right, we're going to quickly backtrack. So we're going to go back to agenda item number 1, the welcome. So we have a guest here. It is our policy to have our guests be part of what we call the welcome. So if you would be kind enough to stand up, introduce yourself to the group.
My name is Susan Melia. I'm English.
Okay,
I've come over from London and I'm Harris's partner.
okay. Do you use digital devices such as iPhones?
I've got an iPhone, a Mac, a MacBook Air and an iPad.
Okay.
All right.
What do you use them for? What do you do with them?
Well, I don't do anything very elaborate. I just use
Well,
the
okay.
phone as a phone and for email
Okay.
and texts.
some web surfing?
Not really, no. I use my computer for surfing now.
Okay,
Yeah, the Mac.
okay.
Mac
Are
Group
there
Dayton.
any things that you would like to know how to do, but you don't know how to do that on those devices?
I can't think of anything on the top of my head. I'm quite sure there's occasions when I think, how do I do this? But I can't,
Okay.
yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At the break, people will come up and say hello. If they want to borrow money, say no.
Okay, right.
Okay. Thank you. Good catch. Okay, so now we've done the welcome. We actually did a welcome. We've done our news. We've done our home kit minute. Freebies wanted for sale. Free pads, if you need scratch pads, notepads, there's some pads over there. Dan, do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't want to bore people. I still have a 42-inch plasma TV that I'm trying to sell. It's basically just needs a new power supply. So if you're willing to do a little bit of work, I'll give it to you.
Okay. And all the other items are on the club website?
Yep.
So on the club website, Mark Georges, who's our Apple ambassador and our webmaster, has created a section where if you have stuff you want to move,
You
either
could show them.
give away. It's going to make me work
That's
here.
too simple.
Okay, I got to sit. Of course, I would click the wrong link. Click
Go to resources,
resources,
bottom of the page, for sale wanted.
for sale and wanted.
Oh, cool.
So what we've got, a Libratone lounge speaker retailed for $695. Works with older Apple devices, and it goes on and on and on. Lots of pictures. Looking for $150. He's got a video card. It would work in a Mac Pro.
I'm taking that off.
You're taking that off? Okay, that's gone. He's got Cat 5 cable, old iPhone cases, old version of Discworld, all sorts of stuff. You can look at it on the
And the MacBook Pro.
on the webpage. He's got a stand. And then last, I have a large quantity of USB cables of various types. Okay. In fact, I have enough that I'm thinking I could open a USB cable museum.
So if you have something for sale, send me an email
Okay.
and I'll update that page and put it on the webpage.
So does anybody else here have anything that they're flogging today?
Don't look this way.
Ray Ratchford.
My freebie is for sale. I have a Keytron K4 keyboard. Cost $100 with the sales tax when I got it, but let it go for $65.
Is it wireless or is it wired?
All wireless, Bluetooth. It's compatible with both the enemy, Microsoft,
yep.
And Apple. It'll match up with, I think, 3 different things. It'll match up with, in my case, iPad, iPhone, and the computer. It can go wireless, or you can plug it in USB, but that's all in.
Okay.
I'm going to give this to Mark to put
Okay.
in
And you're asking what for?
$65.
65? Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark Georges.
I traded in my 2020 iMac and I pulled a 32 gig RAM chip out before I sent it back to Apple. So I've got a 32 gig RAM chip that'll work in a 2020 iMac, 2019 iMac, a 2018 Mac Mini. And you can get them on Amazon for $127. I'm looking for $80.
So he's got a brain for sale. And anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay. Anybody have freebies? Stuff they want to flog and they don't want any money for? Okay, we're good.
Bill, I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I miss didn't we talk one time about bringing in all our cords and finding out what they do I mean, I wanted to connect two computers, and I was talking to Mark about it, and I had this pile, and I spent like an hour and a half trying to, and nothing worked. And I'd just like to know what they all do. They all have Apple symbols on them, but they don't seem to match anything on it.
So, in one of my less lucid moments,
Yeah.
I suggested people should just bring them in,
Right.
and at the break, we do, can Bill identify this cable?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
that, but we never did
Or,
it. Right?
conversely, you're up in Inglewood?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you make a nice lunch? Okay. Just FYI, my wife has returned from her trip.
Yeah.
Okay. My wife has returned. Okay, she left me and she has returned, but she's also retired,
Yeah.
and I'm looking for other places to be.
Well, it's not,
It could be a senior enrichment
It
activity for
could.
Dan.
it could. So anyway, we are not doing that, right, in the meetings.
You can bring them in, and we'll do it.
Okay. All right, good.
In fact, if you want, we can make it one of our little 5-minute things where people bring in cables. We can. Okay. Normally what people do is they bring in used printer cartridges, they bring in cables they no longer need or want.
Well, I would do that if I knew I didn't want them anymore. I can't determine that.
Were you trying to just use your iMac as a separate monitor for your MacBook
Yeah,
Air?
I just thought it would be cool, you know? I mean, I didn't really have.
She's got a
reason for it.
2011, right?
Yeah,
iMac
it's-
and a
yeah,
2011
iMac.
MacBook Air.
And
That-
an air.
They
And,
will not.
she was trying to cook
They're
them
too
together.
old to do
Well,
what they
he's
want.
told me an old Thunderbolt was the one.
That'll connect to the
Thunderbolt
computer.
1.
Well,
Yeah, that's all.
I said she could hook them together to transfer data, but not as a
You
monitor.
can't use the monitor,
No. The monitor?
you can't use the monitor in the iMac attached to.
As a secondary display.
No. Yeah, all I want to do is.
But she could transfer data.
Move one thing over to the other.
Oh,
while they're
data
sitting
transfer,
across.
yeah. Thunderbolt cable will do that.
But Thunderbolt to a USB, is that what I need to buy?
No,
No.
no. Okay, you've got a 2011 MacBook, and you've got a 2011
Yeah, some,
iMac.
in that,
On the back of them, near where the Ethernet cable goes in, there's another little square thing.
okay, which I don't have on my
No,
new.
you won't have it on that.
But I do have it on my old Air.
And that's called a FireWire 800 port. Fire 800 port, and you can use those to connect the two
All
together.
right, so then my request is, does anyone have? a
Or Ethernet
FireWire?
or Wi-Fi.
This is
Yeah.
FireWire.
Oh, that's true. Oh,
I told her just put them both on the same network and
Oh, that looks too big.
Well, if it's a 2011,
Okay. But what do I have on the other end? Two, the same thing?
you can hook them together with two
Wire.
FireWires on both,
Yeah.
okay? Or you can just use an Ethernet cable to plug them together
I don't think
and
I-
do them over that way. Or,
I
I'm
don't
not
have an
sure if
Ethernet
USB,
outlet on
Wi-Fi.
my old Air.
Wi-Fi, yeah, Wi-Fi.
But then if I can't do it from USB to USB.
no,
Okay.
No.
you use the FireWire.
This
Yeah.
would be a perfect,
Now,
Lenore,
what do you mean when you say use my Wi-Fi?
wireless, like we're using right now.
Like AirDrop?
Lenore,
If they don't use AirDrop?
Lenore, FaceTime. Let's do a FaceTime this week,
Okay, fine.
okay?
That's fine, thank you.
And
I
what
didn't
we
mean
will
to take
do
up time.
in the FaceTime, since you'll be able to see my screen, I'll be able to
Okay.
see your screen, we can do the, okay, go up here, go to
Okay.
System Preferences, go down to File Sharing, turn on File Sharing.
File sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
File
Remember from back when you
I
were
do.
working as a
All right,
journalist?
thank you, sorry to take
So
up
what's
so
your
much
real
time.
last name if it's not guessed?
Shush. Shush.
You've been, all these years, you've been,
I know, but when I worked, I used a different name, you know, so I'd have a little privacy, and today I kind of forgot my last married name.
Somebody,
somebody needs to give their
If you're on Zoom, you need to mute.
Me. What I do wrong.
Oh, this is fun. Okay, anyway.
Anyway, thank you, Bill, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Speak up.
So does Dan get out at all?
No,
He just,
no. He prefers to stay in
why
there.
don't you have him run for elected office, Samantha?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, he could run for
I
Congress.
think COVID made him more a hermit.
Well, he could run for Congress, so you don't have to go anymore. You just zoom in and put in your vote.
Carry on.
Maybe the Senate.
No politics in this group,
Okay.
remember, Bill?
Thank you, thank you. I am corrected. It's club rule, no politics.
Okay.
But if Feinstein can be a senator, Dan could be a senator.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anybody else for freebies or things they want? No? Okay, we're going to move on to help desk. Help desk. This is where people, brave people, and you're all brave, we have no cowards in the room, explain what their problems are, computer related, electronic digital problems. We don't do the personal stuff here. And then we solicit support and advice from the group. Okay, and we've got Ray Ratchford with his hand up.
Yeah, a little bit of advice. Last time we were here, we talked about Spectrum increasing their
Speed.
speed. So I tried it and it wasn't any better than what I had.
Oh,
So I called Spectrum and I said, you know, what's the deal here?
Yeah,
And he said, how old is your router?
yeah.
And now I want advice on what brand of very modest price router would you advise?
Okay, so this would be a wireless access point / router.
Yeah.
Okay, so you currently have a Spectrum cable modem, correct? Okay, and then you have another device that's connecting to that to spread out the digital signal to other devices.
no.
Okay, brands that I find are reliable. One would be Netgear Nighthawk, I believe it is the model. They've got, you know, $30, $40 models. They got, you know, $500 models you can buy. Typically, the $40 to $60 range is good enough. Netgear makes a mesh router that's called Orbi. That's another one that's fairly good.
What's that name again?
Orbi, O-R-B-I.
Okay.
But there you have a base station and then there's satellite stations. So that's if you need to cover a large area in a house. You
Well,
know,
you've seen that shack that I live in my old router.
you don't need a mesh router.
No.
Okay. I'm trying to think what.
Does Spectrum charge for Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay. I don't, I have my own cable modem, so I'm not
That's-
using one of
that's
theirs,
what I
so I
do,
wasn't
is
sure if
that-
they charge for their
Yeah.
wireless.
So even though Wi-Fi is built into their cable modems,
They charge.
they will
They
charge
charge
you if you turn it on.
They don't charge you for the cable modem,
Right.
but for the wireless. they
Yeah.
Just for the one.
Okay. D-Link is another good company that has, I would stay away, and Linksys is the other one. So it's Netgear, D-Link, Linksys. If you send me a reminder email, you know, we can talk. And I'll
Okay.
tell you, you know, because you always have to consider supply chain issues. Okay, it's not politics, Linda. It's just real world. We have to deal with this stuff.
On the Netgear, I've kind of favored one that's just got two little antennas rather than a half a dozen, like some of them.
They look like spiders turned upside down now. It's like there'll be 8 different legs coming up.
Well,
And
not
it's
the one
Nemo on
I'm looking at. It's
steroids.
only got two. And if my, what was the thing Apple had? Time capsule, I think is
Yeah,
what it was.
airport time capsule.
It's as old as Apple is almost.
Okay.
And it covers the whole house and outdoors, so
Okay, anyway, what I would suggest is send me an email or just send me a text message,
Okay.
and then
Do I have your email address?
it'll be on the presentation, the one that you're allowed to use.
Thank you.
I'm thinking, all these years, I was using my real name in the club. That was so dumb. I could have been Bosco Osgood. All right, we'll go to,
Similar to
Yes.
that question, Sue and I quite often FaceTime, and when we do, it's 30 to 60 minutes. The first 10 or 15 minutes, no interruptions. Then all of a sudden, her screen will go blank, or my screen will go blank, or we'll lose total contact. Do they limit you in some fashion, or is it just?
it all depends on the internet provider and the channel that the signal is following through. Very often, yes, they'll see high definition video and they'll constrain it. And if they choke it enough, you lose your connection.
So just
Who do you use here for your internet?
Metronet?
Metronet, okay. Well, I assume when you're FaceTiming, she's over there on that side of the pond? Okay. Who's your internet?
Well, I've got John Lewis, which is based on PlusNet,
Okay.
which is a sort of British Telecom offshoot.
I thought they were Scottish. They're not Scottish?
No,
Okay.
it's actually a store, John Lewis,
Okay.
but they provide
Okay. What province do you live in?
London.
Oh, my heart goes out to you. Okay, anyway, London. Yeah. Okay, so there really is no answer. It could be some entity that's passing the signal along between where your computer is or your phone is and where she is could be getting constrained. There's a whole bunch of different things it could be. I always like to blame the other person. I say, you need to upgrade your internet speed.
Yeah, we do that.
Except the British, for the most part, have better internet than we have. Not as good as the Scandinavians, but they still have much better. Though I don't know after Brexit whether that's still true. You know, the French may be choking those cables even as we speak. All right, anyone else? Help desk. Dan?
Yeah. I bought a second home pod, the large old ones, and paired it with the one I had for TV speakers.
Okay.
But now I can't AirPlay to it, and didn't know whether anybody else had that problem or.
How new are they?
Well, the older model, so they're probably 2018 or whatever. It's
Yeah.
the larger one, and I've paired them on my Apple TV, and it works fine with the TV. But when I go to AirPlay to it from non-mobile desktops,
Mhm.
it tells me that it's not on the same network. What it is. So. Just
That one I'd have to think about. Do you have a network map? Have you done an end map of your network to see exactly what touches what, how? Okay. That would be helpful, because that would tell me whether you've got something intermediate that isn't allowing it to see for that particular.
The problem, when I first set them up,
Yes.
it was working fine. And now that it's not working fine, it's still on my iTunes, and it's linked, trying to link to it, and it keeps giving me an error message that it's not on the network.
Yeah.
And I can't get it off because it's not on the same network, or it can't talk
You
to
know,
me.
you should be able to tell it to forget.
No, I uncheck the box and it doesn't do anything. And every time I boot up iTunes, it comes back as a default setting.
Which version of iTunes are you running?
It's on Sierra, whatever it is, or
Okay.
on Monterey.
Monterey.
whatever, you know, when they separated the iTunes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just didn't know whether
Anybody else have an idea? Going once, going twice.
No. Okay.
When you get the other thing, you know, what we talked about before, when you get the other piece that you need to do the other, and you want me to come over to show, we'll do that too,
Okay.
but write it down so we don't forget. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice? John Scott, go.
I just want to throw this out. I've already asked you, Bill. So I use Apple Mail as my email client. For some reason, Apple Mail has stopped working in terms of I cannot download my emails from Gmail anymore. So I did not change anything. I did not do anything. But now I have to go to Gmail in order to see my emails. And I cannot, the only symptom it had was the little audible sound on the computer gives you when you send a message and you get a sound that it's been sent.
Whoosh.
That went away. It didn't hard fail, but I was having issues with it, and it wouldn't work, and then it was working, and that's the only symptom.
Bill, do they still have a way to reset the preferences to do the,
What operating system do you run?
Currently, that's on my M1, so that's what?
You on the latest version?
Monterey?
Monterey.
Okay, there's a thing up in Mail, if you go across the Mail menu to Window and select that, it'll drop down, you select Connection Doctor. It'll go out and see what's going on. If you get a green light, you're good. If you get a red light, you get a problem. It says trying, like for my particular one, I got an AOL thing, trying to log into this SMTP account failed, verify the username and password. Now, it's very possible that your password has gotten messed up, but
I'll
you got your
I'll
computer
back
with you?
and see you at the break.
on the screen? I'm going to redo what Bill just said. So I've got Apple Mail up and running. I go up to the menu bar for Mail, select Window, I go down to Connection Doctor, and you can see right now that my AOL accounts have red dots in front of them, and my TMG Dayton iCloud accounts have green dots. So the AOL account is not working on this. And that allows me to do some stuff that once I know what's
Go
going
to
on.
Window, okay.
Remember, when email occurs, you have an incoming and an outgoing address set up, okay? So you can have it where the password is done corrupt or is missing for outgoing, but you can still get it coming in. So, you know, that's why you look at them in pairs.
Bill,
Yes.
I don't know if this is helping or not. I don't have to go to Gmail to see what the emails are. I have several different accounts, one on my old Roadrunner, and I just have everything forwarded to my Apple.
Well, I have it set up that way,
Okay.
but that stopped doing it. The emails would no longer transfer. I had it set up manually because I just didn't want the emails downloading themselves, because I've got two computers. It's complicated
Okay.
anyways.
Okay.
But but it was working fine, and suddenly it just, like I said, the audible sound kind of.
Well, that jet airplane sound is strictly saying that you sent an email.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you can't send email and you can't get email.
I haven't tried to send anything using that recently. Okay. So, yeah, that's the only symptom I can think of.
Okay. But the thing to make sure you got in your head, to lower the anxiety level.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the two different ways to get to that email.
Email,
One isn't
right.
working, but plan B is still working, so
Right,
you're still good.
I'm not used to Gmail. I've used Apple email client for
Yeah.
decades. And so I've got everything there, and I put stuff in folders in the Apple email. And now I don't want to get into
Is that Gmail the only account you have?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have is that Gmail account what you use for your Apple ID?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Hang on, George.
Hello?
It's most likely password. It's a connection problem.
Yeah.
Most likely. And confirm that, go into your preferences in your email account. And
Yeah.
you go up to your, where it says mail, you go to accounts.
Preference.
And you select that particular account. And then you can get the details on that. I'm sorry. Go to mail and go to preferences and
Okay.
select the account, and then you can verify what your passwords are and things like that. You know what your password is, right? For Gmail account.
Yes.
Okay.
For the Gmail.
I would
Yes.
go in there, maybe re-enter that.
Okay.
Let's see, accounts. See, I don't have a Gmail account, but go into server settings once you select that account, and it'll tell you what your email address is, its password with a bunch of dots in it, and then the host name, make sure that's correct. And just make sure all that information is correct.
Okay.
And, because sometimes that stuff can get goofed up.
Yeah.
Okay, John. Apple Mail. I'm in Preferences. I've clicked on Accounts. And now I'm clicking on one account. And I'm going in and I'm saying Edit SMTP. That's where I can go in and I can actually put in the information that it needs to have for advance. Just be aware that if you go on to Google Mail, their help, they'll be showing you old settings for a lot of the Apple Mail clients. They won't be showing you what they currently use. So in some ways, it's easier if you go to the Apple Mail help webpage, and there you put in what your Gmail email is, and it'll show you what the settings are supposed to be. We did that in a previous meeting when we were troubleshooting email. If I'm just real quick here. Sorry, folks. It's like this. I don't use this machine very often. Apple Mail. Yeah, we'll just do Apple Mail. See if it's still up there. Apple Mail official support. Yeah, mail support. Here we go. So this is on the Apple website, the real one, not the fake one. And I'm in Mail Settings Lookup, so I'm going to put in an address. So I'm putting in TMG Dayton at AOL.com, and I'm saying look up those settings. And then it's showing me what to put in for IMAP, what server port to use, and whether I'm doing a secure socket or TLS and what the server host names are for incoming and outgoing mail servers. So this is a good place to get that information. If you go onto like a Yahoo email help or an AOL email help or a Roadrunner email help, they're going to show you the settings for Mac OS 9, Mac OS Panther. I mean, they're just not up to date. And this is all on the support page of apple.com. Okay, with that said, we all feel sorry for you, John, but
Yeah.
we need to move on
Okay,
to
great,
other
great,
things.
fine.
Is your email working on your phone?
I very seldom have used email on my phone.
Try it and see. Does that account in your phone?
Yeah, it is, but yeah, I haven't tried that.
Try it, get your email on your phone and see if it's working.
I would guess that it's Google changed a setting on the server and they want him to refresh his password. Kathy Toller, you want my attention?
Yes, I'm telling you, George has a question.
Oh, who has a question?
George online.
Okay, so what does George have?
Hi, I'm looking for a recommendation on place to recycle electronics, you know, all kinds, iPhones, Motorola, what have you. In other words, where can I take my old electronics for recycling?
Staples?
Or Montgomery County Recycling Summit.
Yeah.
George, what county are you in?
He's in green.
Please?
What county are you in? Green?
Green.
Okay. Do you have Goodwills around there?
Yeah?
Goodwills accept cell phones for recycling, and they get paid money by the county to do it. So it's a double benefit for them.
Okay, what about an old, some old Apple electronics?
Such as?
With Apple, I usually either take them to Goodwill or I take them to the Apple store. And just, I call ahead to let them know that I've got stuff I want to recycle, and they will accept them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, George, if
Yeah?
you're sending off a computer, make sure you wipe that hard drive or take it out.
Yeah, yes.
I will also take gently used old equipment as well, and I've got a missionary that sends it off to Nicaragua.
Okay, did you hear that one, George?
Oh, asking to repeat it.
It's Dan Wyckoff. He knows a missionary that uses old cell phones in his mission.
Okay, so what, can I just bring it to a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know which heathens he's serving? Are they in Kentucky or Indiana?
Nicaragua?
Nicaragua? They're actually fairly civilized.
Well, he's training people to become ministers. So he basically gives them this technology because they have nothing.
Okay. But yeah, ministers tend to be a rowdy group. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sure.
We have time for 2 more nits on email.
Sure.
Redundant emails. I very often get one, and a minute later I get the same message. Is that a practice that's fairly common now, or are my senders doing that to me?
What it means is if they're using something like MailChimp, it had a hiccup and it's just spitting it out twice.
Do you have more than one email account?
Yes, but they're coming in the same one.
That's probably it. I get the same email for 3 different, my AOL account.
Yeah.
You know, just they've gotten your email address and, you know,
George,
got multiple emails.
it's like when you brought the mail in and you see Pella Windows sent you 2 special offers to the same name at the same address.
They get paid for each one they send out.
Yeah, they need to clean up their database.
Just select them as junk.
Oh, no.
Just highlight them, hit the junk button. It'll automatically start throwing them into your junk folder.
But the basic one is useful.
Oh, it's something you want.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You had something you wanted?
Yeah. The other thing is,
Yeah,
I'm
number
getting
2.
off more.
You only get 2.
That's the second one.
Okay.
Trash. Is somebody corrupted my account, or have they gotten into somebody else's address book so they're able to send me advertisements and everything? What, I've seen a lot more recently of unsolicited ads and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
What is that symptomatic of?
That's symptomatic of what's going on out there right now.
That's good.
If I don't check my email over the weekend, I've got 300 or 400 emails in the junk folder.
I don't check my mail for a day, and with the 12 accounts I have, I've got 1,500 messages. Okay, but I have rules that, if it's a company I don't work for anymore, I just right to the trash. I don't care. I don't care who has that gold bar waiting for me in Soviet Georgia. Okay, any other help desk items? Going last, going once, going twice? Okay. To our visitor, have we scared you yet? Okay, just making sure.
Entertained, probably.
Okay. No, I can't do it because it's politics. I was going to ask you something about Boris. Did he, I'm trying not to watch the news. Did he survive his...
Yes, he did.
Barely.
Okay. Your prime minister,
Oh, yeah.
Boris.
party boy.
He survived.
Okay. All right, so then I'm going to say we're done with help desk and we're going to move on to raffle. We're officially called back to order. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is we have a presentation. The bad news is I'm the presenter. We don't have Rick this month.
Well, I guess I gotta get going.
Yep, right now. Go see Thelma. All
All
right, so anyway, it's a buyer guide to power strips, surge protectors, and uninterruptible power supplies. Power outage. I tried to find as scary of one as I could. So what's the problem? The problem is our electric grids are less reliable today. That's because the accountants run the organizations. They're not spending the 8% per annum on maintenance that they're supposed to do. And so what do? We get more brownouts, blackouts, power surges, and they can interrupt quality power to your electronics and they can damage them beyond repair.
No, you're not on Zoom, right?
Pardon?
You're not on Zoom.
No, I'm not. Okay. I need to be on Zoom?
That's it. Let's go ahead.
Okay.
Because you can share the screen.
It wasn't working too well last month. But that was Rick who was presented last month, correct? That's probably why my presentation wasn't showing up. Anyway, but you can protect your valuable electronics using a surge protector or a UPS system. UPS is not the delivery service, it's uninterruptible power supply. Tough to say, I'm not going to repeat it much. So let's just do a little bit of normative vocabulary first. Blackout. It doesn't mean you had too much to drink. Well, it can, but not in this case, not for this presentation. A blackout means the power is out. The grid is not energized. You have no power. That's what a blackout is. Brownout, that means there's still power being supplied through the electric grid, but it's a reduction in the quality, if you will, of the current. Either the current is being reduced or the voltage, the amperages, something weird's going on. Electronic devices, like they have clean, consistent voltages and amperages. They don't like spikes. Power surges, unexpected, temporary, uncontrolled increase in current or voltage in an electrical circuit, a voltage spike. Number one cause of voltage spikes, lightning, okay? Number one cause for blackouts, squirrels. Squirrels get suicidal, they go into the switching station and they decide it's over and they hit it and then the transformers all flip and they all go off until they come back in, set it up again. Brownouts, that can depend on a lot of stuff. Sometimes it can have to do with inter-grid connectivity. Are you getting enough flow from other, you have a high demand in your area and you're not getting enough coming in. It can have to do with the quality of the chemicals in the transformers that are hung on the poles. There's a whole bunch of different things that can cause brownout conditions. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this presentation? Basically, three things. What is a power strip? It has nothing to do with burlesque. Okay. What is a surge protector and what is a UPS system? And last but not least, things to consider if you're going to be buying one of these things. Okay. We good? Okay, we're good so far. I'm seeing smiling faces. The academic in me, even though it's very dormant, always wants to provide you with additional resources, references and such. So you'll get in the After Club email, you'll get 3 PDFs. The first one is a power strip buying guide from Trip Light, a surge protector buying guide from Trip Light, and a UPS battery backup buying guide from Trip Light. I chose Trip Light because they had them in PDF form. All of the other vendors, they've got videos, they've got these really fancy websites with the pop-ups and whatever. Very difficult to compress and send you. Reliable vendors that I use, APS, which is Advanced Power Systems, they're owned by Schneider. They're the big data warehouse people. They do the power systems for data warehouses. And they're, I think they're French. Belkin, which is a US company, they're known for electric components, cables, ports, that sort of thing. And then Trip Light. Trip Light. Okay, so first, what is a power strip? Okay, here's a power strip. Doesn't have an on-off switch. It's got a couple outlets and it's got some cord and a plug on the other end. It provides no protection. No protection. So power strip is a set. And the reason why I'm going back and forth is I just need those extra steps for my watch. Okay, power strip is a set of outlets that distribute AC power to electrical devices. Think of it as a glorified extension cord. Extension cords typically provide no protection from any of those bad things, the blackouts, brownouts, power surges. Several styles are available, including strip, rack mount, bench mount, etc., but they provide no device protection. And so right here, I'll just say, typically power strips cost the same as a surge strip. Why buy something that provides you with no protection when for the same money you can buy something that provides you with some protection? So with that said, we'll move on to surge protectors. This is a typical surge protector. It's got an on-off switch. It's more common to see them where the outlets are individually switched. So you can turn off this particular item or that particular item. And if you want to turn everything off, you hit the master switch. So with that said, we'll move on to surge protectors. This is a typical surge protector. It's got an on-off switch. It's more common to see them where the outlets are individually switched. So you can turn off this particular item or that particular item. And if you want to turn everything off, you hit the master switch. And then in here, typically they'll have a series of little LEDs that are telling you whether the polarity of your electric outlet is correct. Is the ground on where it's supposed to be and the hot and the neutral where they're supposed to be? Okay. Yes, George?
Is the surge protection by outlet or just for the overall unit?
With a surge protector, all of these outlets have surge protection. And it's done with electronic circuitry. If there is a massive surge, this device will give up its life to save your devices. Okay? If it's something minor, a minor surge, the circuitry usually is good enough that it can handle that and continue to function.
If there's a surge and you've got nothing plugged into the socket, will it still take that surge protection up for that socket?
Right, because it's plugged into the wall and it,
Does
Okay.
it have to be turned on?
no.
Oh, okay.
If it's turned off, if that master switch is turned off, then there's no current flowing to those outlets, which means it's not flowing through the protection circuitry either. Okay, so back to the verbiage. Surge protectors have electronic circuitry that protect your devices from power surges and spikes. Okay? Many have individual outlet on-off switches, several styles available, but they don't provide you any relief from brownouts and blackouts. So if the quality of the power, it's not an extreme surge up or down, but it's something that's not quite normal, it's not going to help you there. You don't really know when you have a low-level brownout unless you have units in place that do UPS protection, because they'll signal that, hey, incoming power is not sufficient and we're going to battery backup. Even though your lights may still be on, the radio's still on, power has dropped below what's considered to be a normal level. Next, what is a UPS system? Uninterruptible power supply. This is a typical UPS. I have units like this on all of my entertainment centers. So one thing to think of is, don't just think about your desktop computer. Think about your large TVs, your network equipment like your Wi-Fi routers, your cable modem, your various devices that are feeding streaming media to your TVs, your Rokus, all of that delicate electronics that you spend a lot of money on. Hi-Fi systems, Sonos music systems, streaming music systems, all of those really should be protected some way, somehow. Modern construction today, when they put in the electric system, it's already got surge protection built in for the entire house. But that's only been something that they've been doing since about 2012, about in there. Most homes in the US, North America, do not have surge protection built into the house circuitry. So there's a couple things that, but let me move on and I'll come back to the picture. Make sure I'm doing all the verbiage points. So a UPS system, it's a surge protector that contains a high capacity rechargeable battery. They have electronic circuitry that protects your devices from power surges and filters the power through the rechargeable battery. And several styles are available, including the strip, the rack mount, and the bench mount. So let me go back to the picture. Okay, you'll notice that there's a whole series of different outlets on this. Inside this, there's a large battery. The electric current, when this is turned on, the electric current flows into this device and gets stored in the battery. On this side, the switches, the outlets, are only surge protected. They're not on the battery protection. On this side, they're on battery backup, which means that the power goes out, or if you have a brownout, the devices that are plugged on this side continue to operate because they're getting their electric power from that battery. Which means you've got your TV, you've got your Roku, it's still working.
For a short time, for things that have monitors.
Depends on just how much money you spent on the backup.
That's true.
Yes.
AC and DC, you're pumping AC, the battery is DC, is it not?
Yeah.
You pump it in AC, so there's gotta be
Yep.
inverters,
Yep.
converters.
Yep, it is a sophisticated unit. I like to use the metaphor of a reservoir, a water reservoir. If you think of the water as electric current as water, it's flowing into this reservoir, the battery, and then it's drawing from that reservoir to feed the various devices that are being used. If you cut off the water flow, you have some water left in your reservoir. Eventually the reservoir will drain dry. So you can run for a period of time.
Enough to shut stuff down.
Enough to shut stuff down, but think about this. Power's out. I don't know about you, but it always seems like when the power goes out, I discover I did not charge my iPhone. I did not charge my iPad. My watch needs it. And you go, oh, how can I call to report the power outage if my phone is at 10%? You could have your little charger plugged into the battery side and plug your phone in and be able to charge it up quite nicely. So it'd be like the power banks that they sell now. Yes, George?
On my UPS, I think I do not have my printer plugged into the battery side, thinking that that's no big loss. I have the computer plugged in so that I can finish what I'm doing.
Correct.
But Mike, should I be more concerned about brownouts?
What kind of printer is it?
It's not an HP.
Is it a laser?
No.
It's a inkjet.
Yes.
That's okay. Very low power usage on those. So that would be appropriate to put on the battery side.
Right. But also, should I be concerned about brownouts damaging electronics?
Yes, you should. Okay. So the surge side is where you put the stuff, various LED lights you've got on your desk or whatever, or maybe you've got a radio, you plug those on the surge side. The expensive electronics you put on the battery side, with one exception, and that is if you have laser printers, Xerox phasers, HP laser jets, they draw a lot of current. They are hungry devices. Those you want to just have on your surge side. And don't expect to be able to have access to them in a blackout situation.
The battery life, is that dependent on just shelf time, or is it recycled?
I'm just now having to go over to batteries, bulbs, and beyond, or batteries plus, whatever they're called, to get batteries replaced in units that look very much like this. They've got 6 years of life in them.
So even if it was never used, just the shelf life?
Yeah. They'll eventually.
Well, remember, if you have things plugged into it and it is turned on, it is being used. Current is flowing into the battery and being drawn from the battery. So it's about 5-6 years is what you could expect before you replace the batteries.
Those are sealed lead acid batteries.
They are lead acid
They're
batteries.
very heavy, so, but.
Now, people are going to go, oh my God, lead acid batteries, they're going to kill the environment with them. I would remind you that lead acid batteries are easily recyclable and are the most recycled battery storage type on the planet. Over 98% of lead acid batteries get recycled. So it's a very, very rigorous, robust recycling process there. They've been doing it for years and they know what they're doing.
Some UPS power supplies can get very heavy depending on which one you get.
So is this like a whole house surge?
No, this would be, this kind of unit, a backup 750 would be appropriate for like an iMac, a printer,
Okay,
maybe a scanner plugged into it,
okay.
some lights, maybe a radio.
If you contact your power company, you can get a whole house surge protector that mounts right where your meter is.
Oh.
With Duke Energy, it's called Strike Stop. I've had 3 of them because 2 of them have been hit by lightning, and but it's protected the house. And we went to that and lightning rods, but you can get that at a monthly charge from your power company.
Yeah, but remember, if you go with whole house surge protection, it does not protect you from a blackout.
Right.
It's only lightning strikes and all the other
I
stuff.
see.
You still want to have
Still
protection within the house,
Yeah,
within the
but
house.
this protects the entire house from severe stuff like we've had.
I see.
so if you were doing, let's say you were running a home business from the house, and it's a mission critical that you always be up and running. What I would do is I would have the whole house surge protection, protecting all of the devices inside the house, and then for the workstations, I'd have a backup battery.
I see. Okay, thank you.
And then I would have another unit that all the network equipment is plugged into.
These UPSs will also notify, you'll hear a tone or some sort of sound when you get a fluctuation.
And if you have a unit that's, it doesn't show it, but on the end, it's got additional plugs. You can plug a USB cable into this and into the back of a Mac. Built into the Mac operating system is software that will talk to a backup UPS. It'll tell you how many minutes it's got, just like your laptop tells you how many minutes the battery has, and whether it's in good condition or not. Yes, Dave?
In the power saving settings under preferences, there's also a dialog to set it, if you have a UPS, that it will shut down once it's
So let's posit a situation. You have a 2020 iMac sitting there. It's left turned on all day, all night. It just goes to sleep. It's just always on. Okay. You have a backup unit that it's plugged into, and you have the cable from the back, a USB cable from the back of the iMac into the backup unit. The operating system will talk to the backup unit. The backup unit says, hey, incoming power just stopped. Okay? So you need to know that. And the iMac will go, thank you, I'll know that. And then it'll say in a minute period of time, hey, power's still out. And eventually, when it reaches the setting that you put, it'll say, hey, it's still out, and the iMac will say, yes, thank you, I'm shutting down. So that you don't have to be there to do it. Yes?
I think it was on the last UPS I had, there's also a jack phone line for the landline, which, as I think about it, doesn't make too much sense because they have their own electrical supply of 28 volts, I think. But I guess it protected.
Well, think about this situation, George. You got POTS, plain old telephone system.
Right.
You got your network interface on the outside. You got a telephone inside a bedroom that's on that plain old telephone system. And the lightning strike is right outside the window where that phone is.
Take everything out.
It'll take everything out. And that's why they have those jacks for that. But there also will be another jack, not an R11, but an RJ45 in and out, which is meant for an Ethernet cable going into it and an Ethernet cable coming out of it. So your network connection is also protected by the surge protector.
In one of our cases now, if you're on VoIP, it's that as well as your internet.
Correct, correct. So again, I'm glad you brought that up. VoIP, voice over IP, what people now call internet phone, internet telephone. So you've got a UMA or I'm trying to remember all the vendors that are out there that do that. Anyway, but you've got that, and it's sitting, and it's plugged into your power, and it's also got an Ethernet cable coming into it and out of it. You want those protected too, and you want those because it's a communication device. So you want that to be always available. So again, a backup unit is more appropriate for that.
But I'm seeing $174 for one. So if you have them spread out across your house, that's quite an outlay.
Okay. 2 words.
Yes.
Well, it's actually
Yeah.
3 words. Sam's Club and Costco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that are less, 71, I see,
They
150.
vary in price.
Yeah, and they vary in how many outlets and how long the cord is, a whole bunch of different things,
Okay.
which is, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to go to things to consider when you're buying one of these.
Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to start, before I do the first item up there, is tell you, don't buy power strips. They're just glorified extension cords. You're not getting any extra value for your money. So the next thing to consider is, what am I protecting? Don't just think about your desktop machine. Think about your other devices, your telephone devices, your streaming media devices, your Sonos, your televisions, all of this stuff that you spend a lot of money for. You want to have it protected from surge strikes. You want to maybe have it on a backup unit so it's available even when the power's out. Second thing, how many outlets, including transformer outlets or USB charging ports? All right, we all have that mobile phone, the cordless phone, and you got the base station, and you have the extensions. For those of you who are doing plain old telephony, you got the landline still. And each one of those has this, what I call them, wall warts. It's the little transformer that plugs into the wall. Have you ever noticed they don't fit in typical power strips? You know, it's always oriented the wrong way. So one of the things to consider before you buy one of these things is, what are you going to be plugging into it? They make surge protectors where there's an outlet on each side, which is perfect for the wall warts, and then they have the lineup on the top of outlets, and then usually they'll have a little space and one more for a big wall wart to fit on the end. What if you don't have a lot of those devices, but you have a lot of iPhones, iPads, Android phones, that sort of stuff that you always want to charge? Well, these can be charging stations for you. So you can also buy them with USB-A ports that you can plug your charging cables into. It also means that when they're being charged, they're being protected if there's a strike on the house. Next thing, cord length and outlet configuration. So cord length, where is this thing going to be sitting? How far away is the electric outlet? Do you need a 12-foot cord on this, a 6-foot, a 3-foot? And outlet configuration, that would be how many things you're going to be plugging into it and what configuration you want them in. You've got your single 7-outlet strip, and then you've got where they've got them 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and then a big one at the bottom, which means that it's easier to plug odd-sized things into it. Think about the electric plugs on the end of the electric cord of your various appliances. They don't just have the single 2-prong in the ground anymore. Just for those from the Europe and the UK, ignore it. You've got a much better set of plugs than we have. Or you've got it where, you know, it's 2 prongs, doesn't have the 3rd prong, and it's this way or it's that way. You want to look at those devices before you buy one of these to know what orientation they need to be in. Yeah?
Can I plug a surge protector into a UPS and then have more outlets coverage in one space?
It's usually not recommended that you do that.
Okay. All right.
So you just like plugging a power strip or an electrical outlet strip into another electrical outlet strip. You're just putting more and more on
Okay.
that one circuit. You don't want to.
Sure. Okay.
Yes?
Yeah, you do need to know how much you're gonna be pulling off that UPS, because it is possible to exceed the capacity that it can handle.
So that's further on down my list.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
so-
get into that.
Yeah.
But where will you install it? Is it going to be on, just sitting on a desk? Is it going to be in an entertainment center? In which case you might want to have one that's in black rather than white, because a black one is going to just sort of blend in, where if you have a big white box sitting there, you know, unless you can make it look decorative. You know, have it be a steampunk theme or something, you know. But those are things to consider. And then when you're talking about UPSs, how much power is required? So if I was setting up a rack of what we call the pop machines, you know, you've got a data center, and you've got these things that look like pop machines, and you open up the front, and the computers slide out like baker's racks, because they're only like that thick. Well, you can have 40 of those, 42. You can have 42 in one of those standard racks, 42 computers. Well, as you know, some computers draw less power than others. So if I reach into my pocket here and I pull out this computer, it uses a lot less energy than, let's say, that computer, the laptop that's sitting there. So you have to calculate, if you're going to be doing let's say you're going to be putting in a UPS system for that rack, you have to add up what is the power usage for each one of those, not just when they're running, but when they start up. Because when things start up, then you draw more power than if they're already running. That's why when you see data center racks starting up, it's a delay. They'll start at the top and move on down. I once asked why they do that. It has to do with the fans that they have in these things. You have a fan at the top of the rack that's always running, that's pulling up, and then they start the one on the top because it has fans and it's adding to the airflow. And so that you're increasing the airflow and draw from the units that are farthest from the fan on the top. Okay, so how much power is required? Those guides that are in there that you're going to get from Trip Life, it's got a calculator in there. How to find out, how to take the voltage, amperage requirement of your devices, add them up and get a VA number. And then last but not least, how much blackout runtime do you need? If the power's completely out, how long do you want those devices to run? So like if it's my cable modem and my Wi-Fi access point, I want them to run until the power's back on. So I would put a unit that would be considered tremendously oversized for it. Something in the 1200 VA range probably, so that it can run for a day or so and still have power in that battery. Okay. Yes, Harris.
Getting back to the communication between the UPS and the PC.
Yeah.
Do PCs have this this
If you're
communication?
running Microsoft operating systems, Windows 7, 10, or 11, I don't talk about the others anymore. It's baked into the operating system. But if it's a Schneider unit, you can put an app on it from the Microsoft Store that gives you additional information, including diagnostic information. So it'll be checking the battery and tell you how soon you're going to need to replace that battery. If it's starting to get iffy, it'll warn you. In the same way that Microsoft operating systems have baked into them warnings about solid-state drives or hard drives. If they're starting to get bad, you'll get the warning that, hey, there's, it's out of it's in an abnormal range. You need to back up your data now and think about getting that replacement storage unit. It's the same sort of thing, but for backup units. And if you're doing a data center, you've got 4 or 5 people. All they do is just monitor, all the UPSs and the various devices that are being used. Typically, in a large data center, the uninterruptible power supplies are large battery banks on the outside. Think of like a Tesla wall, only bigger. And then they've got the diesel generators that kick in to continue to feed power into those batteries. So they wouldn't have, like one APC UPS at the bottom of the rack doing it. It'd be the whole building that they would have protection for. But in a small operation, like a home office or some other commercial building where they've got, think of like a Walmart. They got the computer room in the back. Okay. Their stuff would have the backup units at the bottom of the rack. Because it doesn't make sense to have those units linked into the emergency power for the building. Because their emergency power is just, some little half-ass lights that are sort of supposed to guide you, through the maze to the exit rooms. Yes,
It
George.
may be a tangential question, but I remember years ago having a PC from which the BIOS battery died.
Yeah.
Do computers still have BIOS batteries?
Depends on what kind of computer we're talking about. If you're talking about laptops, almost certainly there are BIOS batteries in them, and they look the same. They're that sort of like a quarter size. No George Washington on them. I had to do that. They still think he's a traitor over there where she lives. He was, but it's okay. Anyway, yeah, they're still in there, and in your desktop machines, they're still in there. The difference is in the laptops, they're not just fitting into that little battery holder like a coin holder. It's a separate wiring unit it's covered with like a black plastic, and there's two leads coming off, and then it goes to a very small connector.
Totally independent to the battery that runs my house.
Correct.
What is the lifespan? I never hear of a case of somebody's BIOS battery dying on a computer anymore.
Usually
Maybe that's because it's considered to be standard maintenance. It's considered to be standard maintenance. If the first thing a tech will check, if you bring in a desktop or a laptop, is they'll check those BIOS batteries to make sure that they're still good, and they'll swap them out if they aren't.
And if you lose that battery,
It'll act weird.
then you got to reconstruct all the operating systems.
Not the operating system, the BIOS. Think of it like the reptile brain. The part of your brain that does the breathing in that. You have a stroke, the breathing part is still working, but your mobility and your vocal qualities may have been affected. But the reptile brain is still going.
The electronics haven't been destroyed, they just need to be.
Correct. Basically, you put the battery back in and you tell it to reset.
It's usually the date and time that aren't right. They're way off by years.
Oh, okay.
It'll like default back to 1960 or something, so that's usually how you know.
Yeah. Imagine, if you will, you're looking at an Apple beige all-in-one. It's got the CD tray, a cup holder that's built in the front, and you turn it on, and up comes, Mac OS 7.6, and the date and time is off. It doesn't know where it is, and it's gone back to, a date in 1954. That is a sure sign that you need to replace that battery. In the case of that beige all-in-one, it's not a coin, not a CR2032. It's looks like half of a AA battery. And I don't remember the battery specification right now. All I know is that German batteries will die after 20 years, and if it's made in Israel, you probably are still on the first battery. Okay, I work with old machines a lot. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Dan?
Are you going to talk about joule ratings for the suppression?
No.
No.
Because for me, I consider that to be marketing hype. Either it's something that meets IEEE NEMA standards, or it doesn't. Same thing with how many $1,000s of insurance protection comes with. I could care less.
It's all prorated in.
Yeah. What's been your experience with manufacturers of backup systems?
You're looking at somewhere probably between 10 and 20,000 lumens.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And what manufacturers do you prefer?
APC or AAA.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, one more.
One more. Whole house surge protection, is that automatically reset or does the power come out?
It depends on it. We've had 2 of them blown.
They're second.
The past, my older ones, they had 2 red lights on them. And when they've been hit, one light will go out. So you just call the company, they come out and replace it.
So you're down on all electricity?
No, you get electric, but it stopped the surge, the lightning strikes or whatever.
In other words,
And that's how you know that you've been hit, because you have 2 lights. Now, the newer ones are different, there's only 1 light. But, but the meters are all wireless now, so they don't even have to come and read them, they just.
now, I don't know about, let's see, AES, was it AES that replaced DP now? Chinese holding company. I don't know what their policy is. I'm willing to bet though, since they're both regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, PUSO, we'll make it sound less offensive, PUSO, that they probably have similar programs so you can have them install it. I do know that if you get a Generac diesel, the generator system for backup power, where it's, it's feeding off of the natural gas line and that, one of the things they do is, in addition to upgrading your electrical panel, is they put in the whole house surge protection also.
What's the monthly charge on that?
I don't, I think it's $5 or $6. I don't know.
Are you in Duke or?
$5 or $6 a month.
AES.
Okay.
I'll have to look at my bill.
Being a shareholder in Duke, I know that they're more forward-thinking and they care about their customers more.
If you're not willing to pay the monthly charge, the Lutron, a really high-quality parts manufacturer, makes a whole house surge suppressor, but I would only recommend a licensed electrician to install it.
Yeah, you want to have a contractor do it. It's not something, it's not a do-it-yourself project, even if you're a retired engineer.
You're gonna have to have the main, it's something that goes in front of the mains, so you're gonna have to have power to it.
Okay, so the thing to take away from this is, when you get home, look at the electronic devices that cost the most, that you use the most, and see if they're on a power strip or a surge strip. And if it's something you want to be able to use if the power's out, you might want to have it on a UPS. Remember, your laptop with its battery is going to be working during the blackout, but if you don't have Wi-Fi, you're not going to be able to look at the internet in the dark. But if your cable modem or your fiber box is on a battery backup and your Wi-Fi unit, your network stuff is on battery backup, you're still going to have internet. Much nicer experience. Okay.
That was Leviton, not Lutron.
Say that again?
Leviton, Leviton.
Yeah, they make good stuff.
It's $6.
One last thing, and that is you can buy really expensive surge protectors that are hospital grade. For most home environments, that's not necessary. It's just like if you go to a Menards or a Lowe's or a Home Depot and you're buying just electric outlets, you can buy hospital grade outlets where it's $25 an outlet, or you can be buying the Eaton brand, which is maybe $5 an outlet, I want to say. It's been a while since I bought electrical equipment. I'm sure prices have gone up since then.
They're about $11.
About 11?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Better is better.
Okay, so the last thing is, did I do okay?
You did fine.
Okay. We have, yes,
Just an opinion question.
sure.
When you're charging your MacBook, you got it plugged in, is it a good idea or is it necessary to keep it plugged into a circuit for UPS? Or is there enough theoretical protection built into?
The charging brick will blow out before the computer does.
You're on TV.
They're designed to do that.
So if
But
they're
it's
plugged in-
not real surge protection. It's required by, I'm trying to remember the regulatory agency in Brussels that decides all this stuff. So it's the same people that are telling Apple they gotta put a USB-C plug on all of their mobile phones and that. They have circuitry designs that you have to have in. It's not a full-fledged surge protector, but it's close to it. Me, I'd have that power brick in the surge strip, and then it feeding into the laptop.
See, I plug everything into UPSs on the surge, you know.
Yeah.
But then I've seen lightning blow them out, you know, I've seen them blow a surge protector right out of the plug in my kitchen one night.
Yep.
Fried it.
Yep, but the thing is, they're less expensive to replace than an iPhone
It also
13 or
killed the answering machine that's attached to it. But we keep a spare well pump at my house for those occasions.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that. The other thing is, don't just think about electronics. What if you have a sump pump and you live in a soggy area of Montgomery or Greene County? If you have a blackout during a tornado thunderstorm, your sump pump is not going to have any power. But you can buy sump pumps that have a battery backup that's part of the system. So something else to think about. Yes, Ray?
I have some little 12-inch extensions.
Oh, I call them
when
wiggies. Wiggies, yeah.
Yeah. When I have that problem with, what do you call it again?
A wall wart.
Wall wart
It's the
that
transformer.
won't fit.
Yeah.
I just let it be 12 inches away.
I do the same thing Ray does because I'm cheap. I don't want to buy a special unit that's got. So I've got these NEMA. I'm trying to remember the number. Anyway, but it looks like a normal cord that you would plug into the back of a desktop computer, except they're only that long. And then I plug those into the 7 outlets on that trip light strip.
Right.
And then I can plug in as many Raspberry Pis or transformers I want into those. And some people call those squids because they look like, you know, the tentacles of a squid. We don't have a topic for our September meeting yet. So think on that. If there's something that you would like to see, I'm thinking we'll at least cover whatever new machines and operating systems have been released.
How about passkeys? Passkeys, the new password.
That's not going to be until October. So maybe we'll do raids. I know Andy would want raid. NAS, network attached storage. Maybe we'll do that. All right, well, I thank you for coming out today. And I'll see you not next month and not the month after that. I'll see you in September.